Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 136 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Chappelle Show Sketch. In its short time on the airwaves, Chappelle's show immediately became one of the most influential and groundbreaking sketch comedy shows of all time. The show ran from 2003 to 2006, and still today, it has an impact on pop culture and social comedy. Think about it. We're 19 years since the show has stopped production, and in 2 decades, we haven't seen anything like it. The show has been often imitated, the format has been borrowed, but Chappelle's show reached a rare air that can never be duplicated. The show lent itself to fearless, no-holds-barred social commentary. The discomfort of exposing social truths about society and making them digestible through humor. Creative control. Dave pushed boundaries he knew he could push. He was a brilliant, daring, and honest comic, and from the start of the show, he was allowed to showcase that. The cultural impact. I mean, you couldn't walk down a hallway without somebody shouting, "I'm Rick James, bitch." That made the show tribal. It made it communal. The blending of comedy and hip-hop culture and the integration of performances and comedy that felt natural and it felt cool, and we all loved it. Everything about the show was unapologetically Dave Chapelle. The comedy, the intelligence, the ability to make you think while you laugh, as his humor dissected racial tensions and social commentary, stereotypes and hypocrisy in a way that wasn't over our heads or didn't seem like a lecture. We now see this show as a relic, as one of the last unfiltered comedies on TV. As short-lived as this incredible show was, he knew it was time to move forward as he began to feel that audiences were purely laughing at the jokes rather than understanding them. We were all taken aback by such a quick and dramatic exit, hoping Dave would come back because we needed to continue comedy and we needed to continue to learn. He didn't come back. Dave walked away from a $50 million contract and escaped for a while. Away from the pressure, away to reflect on life, away from the toxicity and the Hollywood exploitation. Well, Dave came back and gave us some more, and with Chappelle's show, he left us with some of the greatest comedy sketches of all time. This week, Formidable Opponents debate and discuss Best Chappelle Show Sketch. With me, as always, 2 great examples of when keeping it real goes wrong. Bob and Joseph, what's going on, guys?
What?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Welcome to another fun and exciting episode of Formidable.
What episode number are we on again?
Woo, baby.
136.
Oh shit. I think for 150 we should drink some champagne and call it a day.
146?
136.
Oh, 36.
Yes.
That's pretty good, man.
My high school weight, by the way.
You're thinking junior high.
So we're gonna hopefully we'll share them with you eventually. Randy's been sending us ChatGPT
Photos of himself.
Reviews of our podcasts from famous people, and I actually took it upon myself to do one from the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and I found it very hilarious.
Oh shit!
I'll send that
That's
to you
fun.
later.
We should
Nice,
post that.
man.
We're gonna start posting these things. And
The Miss Cleo one about us was pretty good too.
It was. I should probably post that one, but
Yeah.
there's I've done Seinfeld, I've done Nikki Glazer.
What's the deal?
The one I want to do is what would Dave Mustaine say about Formidable Opponents?
And could we understand him?
I was waiting for Joseph to say something in a Dave Mustaine voice.
oh no, not today.
We still have a cigarette voice from Vegas.
By the way, yes, you guys did visit Vegas. We're going to get to that at the very end. We'd love to hear what you guys did, some stories.
Nothing.
Happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas.
I was never there. There's no proof.
So, guys, before we talk about the show, let's talk about the man. Dave Chapelle has been around a long time. As far as comedy, where do you guys rank him?
As far as stand-up?
Stand-up or just comedy in general?
Shit. Stand-up, I mean, I would say he's probably top 5 for me. He's extremely smart and with his jokes, and I love that he's like has no filter. So every topic from race all the way to down to something stupid like so. Dave, I was fucking my wife in the ass the other day. Like talking politics, like stupid shit. Like his jokes range from extremely like quick and extremely smart and extremely like dumb as well. You know what I mean? So he's one of my favorites because he can do that and he can tell a story very well, and he's just a funny guy. He's definitely one of my favorites.
I'd have to really sit and think though, but I'm definitely going to put him in the top 10. He might be in the top 5, but I'm trying to like think about like every comedian that I've ever found funny, and he very might well be in that top 5 range. But I'm definitely, at least for sure, I'll say top 10, because I just at the moment to try and think about every comedian and every every comic that I find funny and rank them would be little
a whole other show, right? Yeah,
it'd be a whole other thing.
Yeah,
I think we've kind of like touched on that before.
What, stand-up comedy?
Yeah, when we talked about Eddie Murphy and things like that. But yeah, definitely top 10, possibly top 5 for me. Just to exactly what Bob said, not afraid to take a chance, to tell the truth, to be funny about it, to find humor in it at least, because I think we laugh at ourselves. I think that's the whole point of this show
podcast,
to laugh at ourselves and have a good time.
Yes.
We make jokes about ourselves, or we talk shit to Randy all the time. But it's because he's our brother, and so it's just, and that's what I loved about Dave Chappelle's comedy. And I know, you might not agree with that, but you gotta laugh every now and then, dude. The world's hard enough.
Well put. I think for me, it's Eddie Murphy, it's Richard Pryor, it's Jerry Seinfeld, and then it's Dave Chappelle. And of course, honorable mentions to Chris Rock and George Carlin, brilliant comics, right? But
you didn't even mention Andrew Dice Clay.
Hickory dickory
Little Miss Muffet sat on the top, eating her curds and whey.
He was up there in the early '90s, right, along with Cool Bubba Ice and whoever else was on.
I don't know who the fuck
Def Comedy Jam. Bill Bellamy, maybe. Okay, so I think with Dave Chappelle, he revolutionized sketch comedy with Chappelle's show. So even though Jerry Seinfeld had Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy had that SNL run, Dave crafted something that was 100% Dave. They tried to duplicate this formula with Mind of Mencia, which was terrible. By the way, guys, that was a blatant ripoff. Do you agree this whole Mind of Mencia did not work?
I mean,
yeah. I mean, like, it was okay. It's nowhere near the level of Dave Chappelle's success or somebody like Key and Peele.
Yeah,
nowhere near. Exactly. I mean, but it had its few funny sketches. I like Mencia's not terrible, but he's not great either. You know what I mean? Yeah. So not really my cup of tea. But he wasn't. It wasn't terrible. You know what I mean?
Definitely a lesser version. No, definitely a lesser version, but I do remember some funny stuff. It has been a while since I've heard the name Carlos Mencia, so I would literally have to go to, which I can, and I might, just to go laugh at them, try to find the ones that I did find funny. The one that sticks out the most to me would be his sketch that he did with Mario Lopez, where they seem like they're gay men, but they're actually just trying to get away from their wives and be Mexican up in there. So it's like it has a Brokeback element, but really they just want to get away from the world and be Mexican up in the hills. So I remember that. But yeah, it had its moments, but it's definitely a lesser version, nowhere near the level. I'm not trying to diss Carlos Mencia.
No. I had an opportunity to interview him for a school paper. He was nice enough, but he took himself way too seriously. But I think
sounds familiar, Randall.
Maybe that's why we got along, right? Yeah. But I think with Mind of Mencia, I can't remember, now that you mentioned that sketch, Joseph, I don't remember anything other than there was a sketch where there was a Chili's in the Middle East, and so they were singing the Chili song, but like through like terrible like stereotypes. And other than that, I don't remember anything else. Key and Peele, as we mentioned, Bob and Joseph, which was a
10
show
times better because I can remember a lot of sketches.
Yeah, a million sketches. Yeah,
it worked a lot better. I don't think it's quite to the Chappelle capacity, but it worked. And of course, Inside Amy Schumer was another one which I didn't catch. Did you guys catch that one, by the way?
No, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Sorry.
So I
saw one. I'm just to quickly touch up on Amy Schumer. That sounds dirty. I saw one of her first comedy specials, and I thought she was funny. The second one just was basically the same thing. The third one, I mean, it just kind of she just kept repeating certain things, and I'm not going to mention here, talking about certain things over and over again. And I was like, get where's the jokes? You just keep talking about one thing and one thing in particular. So no, I wasn't I'm more of a Silverman Show fan. So
I think creators and producers thought that the concept of these types of shows was a success behind the show. It wasn't. I mean, Chappelle's show was 100% the genius of Dave, and it was almost effortless. So I get it. You have this successful sketch comedy show. You have so many great comedians out there. So you give it a shot with other comedians. And just sometimes, more often than not, it did not work. I mean, Key and Peele being the exception, but for these other comedians, it just wasn't hitting, right? Not like to the level of Chappelle's show. What made Chappelle's show stand out from the other comedy shows at the time?
But I think it's the social commentary and the no holds barred attitude that he had. Like nothing was off limits and everything was. He could turn anything into comedy, any topic, any subject. Of course, he talks about race a ton, and he talks about everything from every social context. And I thought he could make anything funny. And that's the sign of like a great comedian, man, that you can turn anything into a joke, or you can make it comedy. You know what I mean? And while still touching on the social commentary. So that's what made him really like stand out to me in my mind.
The willingness to take a risk and to fight for what the creative view and vision that he had for the show and what he wanted to do. And then doing it. And making these very funny shows and sketches and episodes and whatnot on everything. Like Bob said, I think that nobody was doing that. I can't recall. And if you can, then great, please let us know. But I can't think of anybody else that was doing anything like this at the time. It was, I can't remember them. I know when I was reading up on the show, I read about some other shows or people were calling this, like, SNL had been on the air for way longer than this.
Yes.
And they weren't, and from what I was reading, and that's because I'm a classic fan of SNL. I'm not really, it's not as funny as it used to be, and whatnot. No, I'll admit that myself, but I still watch the show. But Chappelle was doing way better than anything SNL had put out in a very long time.
Can we say like, bravo to the Comedy Central for kind of like, hey dude, go do your thing, no holds barred, have at it, like giving him the freedom to do the type of comedy and type of sketches that he wanted to do. I mean, I'm sure a network like NBC wouldn't dare let SNL do something like that. You know what I mean?
Good point. They gave him the Trey Parker and Matt Stone card, right?
Yeah.
They gave him that green light, right? Where he was able.
Hey, fuck you, buddy.
So I mean, because SNL and Mad TV were saved. By the way, Mad TV, I don't remember anything other than Will Sasso as Kenny Rogers. I don't know any other stuff.
I don't know. That's the only one I remember.
Love Will Sasso as Stone. Will Sasso was like, I guess, the Will Ferrell of that show.
Yeah,
when Will Ferrell was like the good Will Ferrell on SNL.
Yeah,
that's what Will Sasso.
Somehow I know that line is gonna get to Will Ferrell, and he's gonna be like, "Who the fuck is this guy saying?"
You know what's funny? Go ahead, Joseph.
No, I'm just saying Will Sasso is very underrated. Bob, you watch the show that he's on? I think that one with the
guy. I don't even know who Will Sasso is.
With the guy from Office Space.
Office Space.
Loudermilk was amazing.
Loudermilk,
yeah. Amazing show. Fucking hilarious.
He's
and
got a shaved bald head.
He's
a stocky guy. He's very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, he's funny. He's funny. I think Chappelle's show was something that the Wayans brothers wish they had within Living Color. I think if they would have had the creative license, what Comedy Central gave Dave Chapelle, I think we could have had fonder memories of In Living Color. It was a good show, but it wasn't to the level of what Chappelle's show was. When someone lets you shine and nobody is micromanaging your genius and your comedy is so contingent on your freedom and success in entertaining people, talented people rise up and create history. And you've seen it with Trey and Matt in South Park, as we mentioned, Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA, Howard Stern for a time, Mel Brooks, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, and on and on and on. When you let loose to do what you were born to do, it's a beautiful thing. And he says some controversial things, but Dave is such a gifted storyteller and he breaks things down to the core. And I think that's what Comedy Central saw, and they just let him run with it.
I love that I agree with you 1,000,000%. I love that you mentioned In Living Color. I think that they had to, being the first Black comedy sketch show on national network on FX, right?
Fox,
Fox. I don't think they could really push the boundaries. You know what I mean? I'm sure that they're held back a little bit. So I'm glad that they were able to kind of like kickstart, I guess, so that way Dave Chapelle could get a show, so many years later and really, let loose. I love that.
Well, it's funny because in Living Color, Damon Wayans was actually on SNL for a season. I think he only appeared on one sketch. Excuse me. He was a cop, and he played the cop as very effeminate. And the producers were super. You could find it on YouTube. Just type in Damon Wayans SNL, and he's playing a cop who's very effeminate. And they got super pissed. They said, "Nobody told you to fucking do that," and so they fired his ass.
And then he went to do Men on Film.
Yes, exactly. And you saw bits and pieces of some very good things on In Living Color that I think it's safe to say that inspired Dave Chapelle. I think there was a lot of things on In Living Color that you could say, okay, if they had what Dave Chapelle had as far as creative freedom, the show would have been much bigger than what it was.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah. Do you think Chappelle's show could exist in today's comedy landscape?
Fuck no, dude. There is no fucking way. It's sensitive as everyone is here and everyone calling each other out in this political climate. Fuck no. He'd be eaten alive by both sides because both sides would think that he's on their side. It's a fucking shit show right now. So yeah, I have no doubt about it. I'm sure he wouldn't be a part of it. He'd probably go back into hiding, dude, because it'd be terrible for him, I think, to be honest.
I think he can do it.
You think so?
Oh shit.
I think he can do it because he's doesn't care. And we know that by most recent comedy specials that, because he had this deal with Netflix. He put out like 4 or 5 specials in this deal.
Yeah, but I think you have a little more freedom in a stand-up special that's pre-recorded.
That's
you know
the
what I
thing,
mean?
though. I think if somebody's willing, if somebody's going to do it, if somebody's going to offer him in today's climate the chance to do this show, and it's him, and he's true to himself like he was then, how he is, I think, to this day, I think he does do it. I think he can do it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm giving. Maybe I'm not hearing the question.
Maybe I'm amazed.
Maybe I meant. Maybe I thought you meant would he do it? And the question. Yeah, I most definitely think he would do it.
Yeah,
because he doesn't care.
But he said, could he do it?
Yeah.
Could he do it?
Could he? I don't know. I think don't. I know Bob's like a full on no, but I don't know. Because I think there is still a group of people,
like us,
a good amount of people like us that like just take jokes for what they are and don't take life too seriously and look for something to get away from the daily shit that's bothering us.
Mm-hmm. Good point. So, I think Dave would have to, as you mentioned, Bob, face cancel culture, increased sensitivity, corporate hesitation. Remember, these shows are funded by advertisements.
If anything, it's corporate.
Yeah. Social media is now
take the chance.
Yeah, social media is now in play. Social media wasn't as big when Chappelle's show had its run as it is now.
So it came out of the pool.
Yeah, he could get away with the true Hollywood story sketches, I think, but everything else would have executive sweating. And one of the sketches we're going to talk about exclusively is one that he could probably not get away with today. But we now have streaming now, so somebody could pick him up, right? Dave is a resilient and likable guy. One thing is that I don't think his comedy will ever go out of style because it's bold, it's smart. People still want to be inspired to think and to laugh. They want to laugh while they're thinking. And I think people like Dave Chapelle, their comedic genius will never go out of style because we all want to learn. And the best way we learn is through comedy. So I don't know, it's my opinion. What's an underrated sketch that deserves more love on Chappelle's show?
An underrated sketch, dude. Let me see.
It's one of my honorable mentions. I'll say Black Bush.
Black Bush? Why, Joseph?
I thought it was hilarious. I rewatched it. I was like, this is so freaking it's Chappelle. It's like it's called Black Bush, but it's like basically what if Chappelle was president and lived it's so hilarious. Everything
is a good one, yes, dude.
Is switched to to the featuring of Jamie Foxx as Tony Blair, Black Tony Blair. It's hilarious. This is the opening. Like I remember watching it. I was watching it as we were, getting ready to get started, and it was just so funny. I wrote it in my honorable mentions. Obviously, I loved it, dude. I'm not gonna repeat, but he got me from the very beginning. He was like, "Try to kill my father, man." Yeah, he tried to kill my father, and then he grabs the mic. He gotta kill my father.
What about you? Go ahead.
It's hilarious, bro. Aluminum tubes.
Yeah.
What about you, Bob?
It had to be something that's super underrated and It's stupid, but the wrap it up box. Do y'all remember that skit? The wrap it up box.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wrap it up, B. They put the thing up and they hit the button. They wrap it up. They're on a first date. Like Chappelle's on for like wrap it up. Somebody's talking on and on. I love that sketch, dude. I think it's an underrated sketch. Super stupid because the Oscars, how they do the wrap it up. You got to wrap up the. But yeah, I think that's a funny little sketch.
Larry David kind of borrowed from that because he had an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where if somebody was talking too long, they would play the Oscar music to wrap up the Academy Awards. So yeah, I definitely got that from Chappelle. So yeah, that's a great one. I think for me, I would say Making the Band. Chappelle is not very good at impressions, but nobody cares. He doesn't have to look.
Dylon.
Exactly. I love it. You're right, bro. He doesn't. He's gonna do his impression whether you like it or not.
Yes.
It's still funny. Like it's not like
it's funny because it's so bad too.
At the time, when that sketch, and I have that as an honorable mention too. It was just like Dave Chappelle's impression of a very outlandish, wild P. Diddy. Fast forward to today, maybe all of that weird outlandish shit is true.
Yeah, no shit, right? He had some inside information.
I need you to go to Brooklyn and get me some breast milk from a Cambodian immigrant,
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're going to talk a lot about Dave Chappelle and his impressions. And obviously we're going to mention Rick James later on, but I was watching Mad TV and they did a Rick James sketch and it was funny, was that the
Eddie Murphy one?
I think so. And the guy looked and sounded like Rick James, and Dave Chappelle does not look and sound like Rick James. And it's still funnier though.
You haven't seen the My Girl Likes to Party All the Time music video? Shit, it's pretty.
I think that's what the sketch was. It was the guy like him, Eddie Murphy and Dave. Excuse me. Eddie Murphy and Rick James trying to come up with the concept or the lyrics to Party All the Time. He just kept going outside to do coke. He's like, sounds good. I'll be right back.
So
it was a funny episode. It was a funny sketch, but clearly not as funny as this.
Shout outs to Mad TV. Probably funnier than what we remember.
I think
right?
that was. I think it was that guy. He had a decent Eddie Murphy impression. Ari Spears. Is it?
Ari Spears. Yeah.
Was that him? No,
was it? He does a great. He does some good impressions. He does a good Shaq impression. He's I
think that is him. Then
yes, he does.
I think that is him.
Let's go on to our honorable mentions. Bob, what do you got for us?
I got a few. The racial draft. That whole thing was fucking hilarious. Tiger Woods. I love that. So long fried rice, hello fried chicken. I fucking love it. And he's like, for shizzle. I always wanted to say that. They make Tiger such a dorky character, man. Fucking great sketch, man. The Players Hater Ball. Love that one. The Mad Real World, one of my favorites, dude. Fucking funny, dude. The Wayne Brady Show, dude. Holy crap. Wayne Brady under that light, fucking funny, dude. I love this. Wayne Brady have to choke a bitch? I love that. And I'll go with Pop Copy. I like Pop Copy where they're working. It's a little sketch where they work at the copy place. They say they have Apple, tell them to use Android. If they have Android, tell them to use Apple. Why? Because fuck them. That's why. I fucking love that one. Just such a stupid little sketch. But yeah, those really, really stood out to me. Oh, Little John at the airport. Fucking funny. So stupid. It's such a stupid idea for a sketch, but it was just so funny because it worked.
What about you, Justin? What do you got?
I also had a moment in the life of Little John just basically being repeated, all of them. Yeah.
What?
It's so like honestly, like I think I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I think Little John has to this day has been like, motherfucker, why? Like why?
Why would you do that in songs, dude? He fucking nailed it.
But they had a good laugh about it because he ended up coming out on one with him where they were talking back to each other. The Samuel L. Jackson beer, although it was a small sketch, hilarious. Loved it.
Good shit.
Good motherfucking chase.
What you talking about?
The Samuel Jackson beer.
It'll get you drunk.
Choice.
It'll get you drunk.
Love that one. One of my favorites. Of course, I said Black Bush earlier. Hilarious sketch. Great, funny. Like it's. I think that's it features a lot of people in it. Like I said, Jamie Foxx, Mos Def. I think a lot of hilarious people. The Making the Band one too. I had that one. One of the later ones that came out on the Lost episodes, the new Tupac song. Do you remember that one where like he's
still
dancing? Like,
he's
how does he know
club.
he's supposed to be dead?
The Tupac songs saying everything that's referencing all this stuff, but like it's hilarious. Waiting for George W. And of course, one of the first ones too, one that featuring Rashida Jones in the Love Contract. Hilarious sketch. So Rashida Jones was the woman in the contract where he's like, "Here, I need you to sign this. Don't tell anyone, or I'll sue your ass."
How about you, Ram? What do you got?
I got the racial draft. I think racial draft is probably top 5 for all of us.
Yeah, easily.
The RZA, the Jizza, yeah. Those guys are announcing.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how far we could go into this one.
I know shit, right?
The racial draft was
We're just repeating what they said on the show. It's not hard.
I had Wayne Brady when Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. I had Whack Arnold's. Whack Arnold's was great. I had the Mad Real World, Player Haters Ball, the Reparations. I had Pretty White Girls.
The Reparations fucking funny too, dude. I'm rich, bitch. Yes.
Pretty White Girls sing Dave's Thoughts. Samuel L. Jackson's Beer. A Shark Ate Me. Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. Making the Band. And then lastly, the R. Kelly parody because...
Yeah. I'm gonna piss on you.
Oh.
Drip, drip, drip.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm sorry. Yep.
I love how he's like, R. Kelly called him, man, how you write a song about pissing on somebody? He's saying, how do you write a song about pissing on somebody? I fucking love that response from Dave Chapelle.
Oh man, that is hilarious.
Nobody's mentioned this. The guy does the robot in all the sketches in the background. I fucking love that he's a reoccurring character in like every 80s scene or dance scene or whatever the fuck. I love that he has that character. Sorry, I had to throw the guy in there.
And again with R. Kelly, no fucking effort to look or sound like it. He just goes. He just puts a pair of sunglasses on
and a bandana or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the genius of Dave Chapelle. He does not have to sound or look like the people. You just know that his interpretation is going to be wild and insanely funny. So part of the genius of Dave Chapelle, right? So we're going to continue to talk about the genius of Dave Chapelle. And Joseph, what is your selection for best Chappelle Show sketch?
Okay, I'm going to talk about this one as little and as much as I can.
Tread lightly.
No. It's we're not even going to get anywhere there. But
it's the most controversial, but it's probably the one that let everybody know what the fuck the show was going to be about. So it's perfect.
So to not talk about this one would be a disservice to Dave Chapelle. So yeah, I got to. I picked. I think it's the most memorable and most funny Frontline Clayton Bigsby. The first and I'm one of the
power.
In my opinion, this is the most memorable, most talked about, most quoted, probably most unexpected moment in the show's run, and all in the very first episode, right? So talk about starting off with a bang. I don't have to tell you much about this sketch. If you're listening to this episode, you know what it's about: a reclusive, blind African-American man raised to believe he's white, and later a white supremacist best-selling author.
What a fucking concept, right?
Best-selling author. He agrees to an interview with a 60-minute type investigative news show in which his actual identity is revealed during a meet and greet book signing. The build up to this and the whole story of him and learning who Clayton Bigsby is just hilarious. And it's Dave Chapelle saying a bunch of wild things as an African-American male portraying a character on this sketch as a white supremacist, blind white supremacist that he doesn't realize. Just, I mean, insane stuff. I mean, from the very beginning, right? The sketch just had me laughing, just with the warning that a tag that plays in the beginning. Yeah, I just what from the very beginning, with the little warning. I don't know what I was expecting when I first saw this episode, but as soon as I saw Dave Chapelle sitting on the porch, or the character sitting on the porch of the house, I remember saying to myself, what the fuck is going on? And laughing. Like, no way is it him. Like, for sure, it's not. And sure enough, we'll look no further. He found us.
Yeah, with that like cheap redneck accent that he tries to pull off.
Like, oh my God. And I went back and I watched the sketch, obviously, for to get get familiar with it again and laugh about it again. I went to go watch it on YouTube, and you hear the same audience reaction. It's the same thing. A few laughs, just like kind of shock. A few like, am I supposed to laugh? Can I laugh at this? Like, from the audience, and they're puzzled as well. But, I think, yeah, as the show goes on, everybody's laughing. I think that's the genius of Dave Chappelle and the Chappelle Show. At the time, he was not afraid to, be him, to be funny, and to take a big chance on pushing the boundaries of comedy so early in this new show form. And actually, I read Comedy Central did not want this sketch to be part of his first episode. And Dave Chappelle said, either I get this or I walk. And of course, he was right. They let it happen. He got his sketch, and I think the success of the entire show, as short-lived as it was, for his own personal reasons, is because of this one sketch. He came out immediately, first episode, basically the first sketch, and said, boom, this is me, this is the show, this is what I'm gonna do. This is Chappelle's show. And that's why I think it's the best, and it's come on, it's fucking hilarious. It really is. Guys, what do you think?
So this is such a bad show to do when the pollen count is so high, because I have allergies and I'm laughing at this shit. Yeah, no shit. It's just so fun. I had to go on mute several times. I had to go on mute several times because I can't stop laughing. Okay, so this sketch was on the very first episode, so it set the tone early. I think Dave Chappelle said that might be the first and last sketch of this show when they came back from it, because he knew that this was going to rile people up and have people talking. So this was truly a bold move. And what I recall was this sketch being the talk of the show because it was so ballsy. So if any takeaway you had from that first episode, it was all about this Clayton Bigsby sketch, because it is so hilarious. In terms of comedy, Dave really saw the future with this, and this had to have pissed off Bill Cosby at the time. I'm sure he was repulsed by this, and once we found out about him, he was like, "Forget it, I'm good, we're good. No, don't worry about
Fuck Bill Cosby. Time to kiss my ass. What did Richard Pryor say? Time to kiss my ass."
So Clayton Bigsby, who's an African American, he's blind, and he's a white supremacist who's written many books, 6 books, but they only published 4, and we cannot
not saying any of the names.
We cannot say any of the titles of these books, but you could watch the sketch on YouTube. So Dave was, of course, brilliant, but give it up to William Bogert, who played the interviewer. So without his tone and his seriousness, this would not work. Rest in peace, by the way. He died in 2020. I remember he played a college dean on the Gilmore Girls. So another show featuring hateful white people. So anyway, okay. So you know, there's probably some like racist hearing impaired guy out there who only reads the transcripts of our podcast. And once we eventually do Best Mana song, he's gonna be pissed to find out we're
Oye, mi amor.
He'll be pissed to find out we're Mexican Americans. Anyway, going back to In Living Color, and what a groundbreaking show that was, as we mentioned earlier. When the sketches were about race, they pushed the boundaries as far as they could. They did not come even close to this. I mean, this was like beyond, like, Dave just took this way beyond what anybody could imagine they could. And of course, being a network TV show, they were very limited. But Dave comes out guns blazing, discussing racism head on, and he went beyond the boundaries and gave us this memorable sketch. I think what Dave was doing was telling people, we're going to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And nothing is off limits. So this is what the show is going to be about. Buckle your seatbelts, because you're going to be in for a treat as long as I'm on Comedy Central. The backstory of this character was hilarious. They live in a racist city in the South. Some might say today it's Washington, D.C. I won't go there. But Clayton is a kid who lives at an academy for the blind, and the people who run this academy tell him he's white so nobody messes with him. And by the way, one of the things that made me laugh out loud was the yearbook picture when he was a kid.
I know. I was like, why did they make him look like Ray Charles? They could have just had regular no sunglasses at all.
Ray Charles,
but big Ray Charles sunglasses.
like that hateful smirk on his face.
Yeah.
So shout out to that kid who took the picture. He grows up just being a hateful, spiteful racist. They show examples of this in the sketch, and there's a lot to go by. To me, the funniest example is when they pull up beside a car full of white kids listening to rap music. And Clayton calls them a derogatory term, and then they love it. They're like, "Did he just call us what we
and they all high five." Yeah.
I mean, how genius is that? His commitment to these little inside jokes and connecting them to the big picture is just brilliant beyond words. The scene in the rally hall was hilarious because he's pointing out how ridiculous people talk and think about these things. The twist ending was brilliant. He divorces his wife, who, by the way, was also blind because she was married to him.
After 19 years.
Bob, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's just such a great sketch, man. It's when you really want to just like throw it in people's faces, the social commentary on it, and just make people laugh, and like the ridiculousness of it. You know what I mean? That's what makes it so special. That's what makes it hilarious, and that's what makes it perfect for his first episode. And like you both said, it set the tone for his show. Like, this is the fucking show, folks. Buckle up. If you want to watch more of this, stay tuned. If not, I'll get canceled after one season. But he was gonna do comedy sketches his way, and I think I'm more than sure the execs kind of had an idea of what kind of comedy he wanted to do, what kind of sketches he wanted to do. Hey, man, it's I don't want to use the word brave, but it's kind of like, oh shit. You're really gonna throw that out there? Fuck it, let's do it. So I'm really happy you picked this one, Joseph. This was one of the funniest ones there, and I hope people can see the ridiculousness of it, of the topic and of the situation and everything. Yes. And it's fucking funny, dude. Fucking funny. The best thing, Randy hit on the best thing about it is at the very end how he's like, "Why would you marry your wife after 19 years? Because she was a lover." And it's so fucking funny. She married his wife because he was like, "Oh, she liked black people." That's fucking fucked up. You're like, what the fuck, man? That's hilarious, dude. To throw that little joke in at the end is fucking perfect for Chappelle.
Before we move on, what was the name of the actor who played the interviewer again? I forgot.
William Bogert.
William Bogert. One of the funny little things that he did that I noticed in the sketch is when it's getting to the point, because he's in an interview, he's sitting there in the rally, or the book turns into a rally. It's supposed to be a book signing. Like it happens, but one of the funniest things, the little subtle funny things that he did real quick. I'm sorry, I'm taking up some time.
No.
Is when he realized that there was a possibility that Clayton was going to take off his mask. You see him like smirk in the back, like, do it. Like, this is going to be the best story ever. Do it. It was funny. I caught it real quick and I was like, oh my God, he's even on it.
If you want to know more about this sketch, go read about Jesse Lee Peterson or Clarence Thomas or Jason Whitlock. You'll get the same effect, right? I mean, Dave's talent to take a disgusting thing like racism, turn it into a comedic sketch, and make racists look like bigger idiots by playing one to boot, actually. And this being the first sketch is just a level of genius that few have. I mean, this is a great. I love how the heads explode at the end because they can't figure out what the fuck just happened.
I think even like I was looking at the crowd reaction. I think there's a moment where one of the people in the crowd is actually like laughing because it's like even he's finding it funny, like, because I guess they had just shot the scene where he pulls off the mask and they were cut to the audience reaction. And it looks like one of the guys in the audience is like laughing because it's fucking funny. Anyway, Bob, what's this moving on? What did you pick, Bob?
Well, big part of the show, man, was the Charlie Murphy stories. There's countless skits with Charlie Murphy telling his stories of the way it was in the 80s and the parties and the partying and everything. But the one that always stood out to me is the Prince story. I mean, fuck. Just Dave Chapelle dressed as Prince alone had me dying fucking laughing. I love the fact that they meet up at the meetup at the club, and then they want to go out for let's go back to my house and listen to music. Fucking Dave Chappelle's dressed as Prince, and I got eating a Tootsie lollipop. This bores me. Do y'all want to play some basketball? Like, basketball of all fucking things. Charlie Murphy, you get your crew against me and the Revolution. And I always thought that sketch and that line was hilarious, and them showing up in the same clothes they wore to the club to kick their ass, and Prince is crossing them over and scoring. And then I love the end, of course, the game blouses where he's hanging from the rim. He's first hanging with two hands and with one hand, and then he lets go. He's not even hanging from anything, but he's there like kind of floating down slowly. I fucking love that, man.
I like that he even looks down and then looks back up.
Yep, and he like kind of smirks, and goes, and after they beat us, Prince took us inside and fed us pancakes. He was like, "How could I make this shit up? How could I make this shit? I dare you to challenge him. Challenge Prince in one-on-one basketball." He was like, "This guy had skills." So that skit, man. I know I didn't go into too much of the thing, but I mean, like, it's really quotable. The game blouses. I still say that shit all the time, especially if we watch a big NFL game or NBA game or any kind of game, and one team pulls it off or we win out. That's the line I go to. That's my go-to line. Game blouses. I love that shit, dude. So yeah, one of the funniest skits of all time on his show, and this one just always, as soon as you mentioned it, I remember we were kind of like talking over what shows should we do, and we said, hey, we'll do best Dave Chappelle skit. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the Prince one. Like I already knew the Prince sketch was my go-to. So that's it, man. What do you guys think about it?
So the thing about Prince is that he's both a well-known eccentric and yet he's shrouded in mystery. So like even when you watched him in Purple Rain, like maybe we'll get some normalcy or some insight about him. No, he just played Prince. Nobody knows jack shit about him still. I mean, nobody moves like Prince either. And guys, we've seen Purple Rain and we all love the, where are you? Answer me, motherfucker.
And he spins around. Spins around so delicately.
Too smooth.
Only Prince can make being pissed off look so erotic, right? With his heels clicking in that smooth spin.
Dude, it's so effortless. It's like he didn't even turn.
It would take us 20 seconds to make that move.
I would have lost balance and fell over.
I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, right? So, all we know is that Prince is one of the baddest musicians, one of the baddest dancers, one of the baddest guitar players, singers who ever lived. But we really don't know shit about him until Charlie Murphy and Dave Chapelle gave us some insight, and we found out two more things that he was great at: basketball and serving pancakes. So it starts off with the Zorro outfit with the ruffles looking like a figure skater. He's in the club just chilling. And only Prince would be hanging around in a mansion with beautiful women, some great music, some alcohol, probably some drugs, and say that he's bored and wants to play basketball. That's just some crazy shit. Look, if Luka Doncic had the same attitude, he'd still be in Dallas, by the way. So the best part of this story is that Prince has acknowledged its validity. So in an interview, Prince said, yeah, the story is true. I beat Charlie in basketball, but it wasn't that great. But I wasn't that great at basketball. Charlie just really sucked at it. And Prince used Chappelle's impression of him on the single cover of Breakfast Can Wait, which was great. So Prince was in on the joke. So the fact that Prince has a sense of humor, it humanizes him. And we learned a little bit about him before his death, right? Because we think Prince just plays music and has sex, but he actually, laughs, right? So
with everyone,
you look at the way Prince moves and dances. So I mean, he's obviously has great coordination, right? So he's going to be a hell of a basketball player. I mean, I love how the story got only more ridiculous during the actual basketball, when the dude with the glittered lips on his tank top, when he would set the pick on Charlie Murphy, like they were setting fruity.
Fruity picks.
Fruity picks.
He was like tickling me, man. I'm not in your team, man.
Look, this is a sketch, people. But he's like, you really don't want to be bent over in front of a guy like
that. or Prince whimpering and humping the ball. I mean, just when he said, what was the part when he said we're gonna play shirts versus blouses, and then Prince just starts like moaning, like
like he looks pissed off, and he's computer blue.
Yo, man, I'm not on your team after the butt slap is just. I guess I could say I'm old enough to remember who Mickey Free was on Shalimar. And I do remember a lot of people thought he was a beautiful woman. And he looked as flawless as his jump shots. How about you and your friends versus me in the Revolution? It gets me every time. And they are still wearing their nightclub clothes. And I love how they have them coming out in the fog and the smoke. The fact that, by all accounts, this story is true. It just makes it funnier. Look, we've lost Prince. We've lost Charlie Murphy. And although Prince's legacy will always be the genius of his music, what makes me happy is that Charlie Murphy gets the spotlight. And although for the longest time he was known as Eddie Murphy's brother, Chappelle shined the light on Charlie. And even if it was just for a moment, he was a bigger star than his brother just for that moment. And it gave him a more profound legacy and I'm sure he's worked very hard in comedy to attain. So kudos to Charlie Murphy for this sketch and for other sketches. Rick James, was more quotable and more ridiculous and on cocaine. And cocaine is
hell of a drug.
Cocaine is funnier than pancakes, right? But this was a great sketch. What do you think, Joseph?
This one came out first, right? This
I think this was
first.
the second one. I think Rick James was first.
Okay, well, regardless, this sketch is probably, like, as far as landmark sketches, I honestly think we picked the three.
Yeah, for sure.
This is definitely in that top three, however you want to put them. Top five. This is in your top. I love this sketch. This is so funny. I love how it's. Yes, I like how you mentioned it's a moment for Charlie Murphy. Although it's it's a Chappelle show, whatever. Chappelle's plays Prince. It was great to have this moment for Charlie to tell this story, tell it funny, tell it how he remembers it, and Dave Chappelle bringing it to life. And going back to Dave Chappelle's impressions, motherfucker does not look anything like Prince.
I love how they put so much makeup on
care.
him and eyeshadow.
It was so funny. Nobody cared. Nobody cared one bit. When the camera pans up to and it's Dave Chappelle as Prince, you're like, come on. I mean, it's hilarious, dude. I find that after his untimely death, there's a lot of people that have come out, and this came out before he died, obviously. But a lot of people have come out and said, like, he was just like a really cool, like, regular guy. Like, yes, he was the big musician and obviously, like, sex symbol for women and whatnot, but that he was just a regular fun guy that liked to do, fun things. So it's I'm glad that is true to as far as this sketch. I loved the every bit of this sketch, from them like let's go, we're gonna go, the whole like let's go back to the house, listen to the tracks slamming, bored me, the whole like they show up in the same he has his servants and everything go get us like some shorts and shirts wasn't on. They show up in the same stuff they're wearing to the club. Like, that shit was
fucking funny, man. And in the cloud of smoke they show up in there, it's fucking awesome. Like that aura.
This is one of the funniest sketches, whether you agree with obviously you have to, like, I'm not trying to knock Dave Chappelle's impression of Prince, but it's hilarious. It really is. I mean, it's funny. It is what it is.
It's Dave Chappelle's like, but that's why he does all his impressions. Like, it's supposed to be like, I love that, dude. I love that.
It's outlandish. It's not necessarily Prince, but it's his Prince, and it doesn't matter. It's very funny. This is one of the favorite sketches of all time as far as this show. One of the funniest sketches I've seen on any kind of sketch comedy show. That's a lot of usage of the word sketch.
Definitely fucking memorable.
Great selection here.
It is. And Joseph, I like the way you said that, how the comedy makes Prince like relatable and humanizes him. When I was doing my research, there's this, and I remember the show in 1985, SNL was hosted by Hulk Hogan and Mr. T a week before WrestleMania, or the night before the first WrestleMania. And there was a sketch where they were doing a We Are the World parody, but it was Billy Crystal as Prince singing I Am the World. And every time like Willie Nelson or whoever, Bruce Springsteen came out, like Hulk Hogan and Mr. T would beat the shit out of him. And there was an interview where Prince was talking and he said he loved it. He said that was so funny. I would have loved to have made a cameo or whatever, because I thought that sketch was so funny. So Prince seemed like just a very laid back guy, despite the, eccentricities that we saw him like fucking, crawling on the floor and doing all that, kissing himself and all that shit that he did.
He's a showman.
Yeah, he's a showman. Normal guy, right? So
look back at him, look at what you angry for? You know damn well where you got that shirt. It wasn't in the men's department.
And it wasn't in the men's department. The more that's what I'm telling you. The more you look like a bitch, the more women you got. It was a very ominous time.
And I love that. Okay, and I'm sorry, I know we're gonna move on, but another aspect of this is Charlie Murphy being funny and like telling, like, I know he's telling the story, but he's telling it as calm and chill, and it's hilarious the way he, like, something like that is like something like that, saying what he's saying, like, why you angry? You know where you got that shirt.
That's a good impression of Charlie Murphy right there.
It's fucking funny.
And that's the thing, is that Charlie Murphy has lived this life due to Eddie's success. So he saw this as like a normal story where we're like, holy shit, this is like from outer space for us.
Yeah, exactly.
But for Charlie, it was like a Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
So
like,
excellent.
He always did.
Great selection. So we're going on to our final selection for best Chappelle Show sketch, and my selection is Charlie Murphy again. True Hollywood Stories. Rick James. Look, this story is so damn insane. It had to be true. I'm still trying to figure out if this story was pro or anti-cocaine. I mean, we'll never figure it out. But
it's a hell of a drug.
Before this brilliant sketch, Rick James was a name we only knew from our parents' cassette suitcase, right? We didn't know too much about him. We knew a few songs, Super Freak, and so on. We didn't realize what a big star he was because we were too young or not even born yet. So Chappelle's scripted satire is excellent, but his stories based on true events, especially ones where Dave's very limited efforts to try and impersonate people are just the best, and we've talked about it. The Rick James shout talking, the ridiculous cowboy outfit, the wig, all the outfits, the exaggerated mannerisms, it was spot on, but also completely over the top. The way Chappelle's effort was to only play up the version he conjured up in his brilliant mind and still keeping true to the story, all while taking a back seat and giving the spotlight to Charlie Murphy. I mean, it's just incredible. It made for some of the best comedy of the time. A few things that worked for this sketch. Dave's over-the-top portrayal of Rick James, Charlie Murphy telling this story as if he was taking a courtroom stand, right? This is an example of just letting the humor and ridiculousness unfold. It's so wild, but you know it's very well crafted, and it's just incredible. So the catchphrases. I'm Rick James, bitch. What did the five fingers say to the face? Slap.
Slap.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Cold-blooded.
They should have never given you money. Fuck your couch. What did the five fingers say to the? Oh, I got that one. In Unity, of course. So what studio?
Unity.
That shit. The Ring, right? So
yeah, The Ring.
What Studio 54 and Scarface did for cocaine in the 70s and the 80s, Dave Chapelle did for the 2000s, right? I've never touched it. I mean, when you listen to me on here, you might think otherwise, but I think the hardest drug I've ever done is secondhand smoke from Joseph's Blueberry Vape. Other than that, I've never done it. It smelled like a very dangerous breakfast cereal. Anyway, I want to think Netflix should do a series called Shit Cocaine Made Me Do, and just I mean, wouldn't you both watch this docuseries and reenactment of people just telling cocaine stories?
I mean, the Cocaine Bear came out not too long ago, and it was pretty successful. So shit, I wouldn't doubt it.
Right? I mean, it couldn't be worse than Sweet Magnolias. I mean, you can even do like the Netflix UK version and call it the Coke Bloke. I think this would be a great idea. Right now, pitching the idea: cocaine stories, Netflix. Holler at us. We'd love to, be a part of it. So
host it.
Yeah. You try to make sense of Rick James slapping people, punching people, messing up people's couches, bartending, and it makes zero sense. But talk to someone who has done cocaine and they'll tell you that's probably a fairly normal night, right? So back to this sketch. I love when comedy gets the secret done right. Charlie Murphy's deadpan delivery and Chappelle's absurdity. It's just a brilliant marriage. If they were both competing on the same levels of emotion, it wouldn't work. So that contradiction is just brilliant. And then you add the real Rick James. Why would I do something stupid like mess up someone's couch? And then they rewind, and then you're like, yeah, I messed up his couch.
yeah, I remember rubbing my feet on over his couch.
I never did. I had more sense than that. Yeah, I remember.
Saying karate was for children.
yeah. Charlie was there probably practicing karate with a bunch of little kids. Do a kick like he was in a kung fu movie.
I mean, it's the perfect storm of great storytelling and unforgettable performances, legendary quotes, and real life craziness. And that's why it's still the funniest sketch Chappelle ever did. What do you guys think?
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. That's it again. Whenever Charlie Murphy was telling a story and Dave Chappelle he gets to play a character. Oh man, it's just, you knew it was going to be good. You knew it was going to be funny. I love I love how he always made it seem like he always punched Charlie Murphy in the face or always hit him. This motherfucker was always trying to hit me in the club or in front of everybody. And I love how Charlie Murphy hits him or kicks him and he fucking flies through the air and breaks a mirror. Yeah. I'm sorry, Charlie Murphy. That was weeks ago. Tonight.
I hit you tonight. I'm sorry.
I hit you tonight. I'm sorry, Charlie Murphy.
How you hit me? You hit me, man. Yeah. That was weeks ago.
I fucking love that, dude. It's just it's so fucking funny. There's some truth to there's some fucking truth to these stories. You know what I mean? Like, Of course they embellish a lot and they're gonna stretch the truth a little bit, but there's some truth to it. So the chingazos and the partying and the funny and wiping the shoes, like you buy another fucking couch. They're never gonna be running. Darkness, everybody, darkness. I like how that was Rick James' nickname for the Darkness Brothers, for Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy. Like, what the? And he was like, and this is before Wesley Snipes came out. And like, you're like, what the fuck? Fucking Charlie Murphy is fucking hilarious, dude. And everything about the skit is just so funny, and the way they tell the story, the way, I love the characters. I love that they actually brought in Rick James to kind of like give his side of the story too, along with Charlie Murphy, and then they have the skit going on in between. So it's just a great mix, man. It's the most one of the most memorable ones that they've had on the show. I absolutely love it.
I love this sketch, dude. This is also, like I said, I think we've picked the top 3. I'm not trying. This isn't a knock to this one, a knock to this selection at all. I think if people are ranking these 3 or the 2, because there was only these 2 True Hollywood Story sketches, this one over the Prince one, I think the only thing that gives people might give this one an edge to is just because it was a full episode, and
it was reoccurring. It was multiple stories, multiple skits.
To 3 incidents involving Rick James, which means that, like, hey, obviously he hung out with Eddie a lot. Obviously, they made. Song.
They created a song together.
So he hung out with his brother. And Prince may have been like a unicorn situation with Eddie Murphy. I would have loved to have seen that expanded more over, because I think it's still a hilarious sketch and story to be told. This one just had the benefit of multiple incidences with Rick James, like I said. But I love that him himself adding validity to these stories, having him listen to the sketch or listen to the story. Excuse me. I'm sure he saw the sketch and Dave Chappelle's portrayal of him. But again, Dave Chappelle just, like, in his mind, this is the Rick James I remember. This is what this is who I saw. Like, and of course, also maybe by influenced by the tellings and the stories of what his brother said, and like the things that his brother, that Charlie Murphy told him, like his experience of saying like, I see him, he had this aura, like that whole thing.
He had this orange aura.
Give it to me, baby.
He's like reaching
out and putting his hands, like telling him to come forward. Love that shit, dude. Oh, hilarious.
So having Dave Chappelle take that description of these stories and like the description that I guess Charlie Murphy gave of Rick James and running with it to this is hilarious. From the very beginning, the first part of it is like, I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers of all time. I'm one of the best looking like this. The whole like, hold my drink, bitch.
Wish I had 4 thumbs. I wish I had 4 hands. I give them 4 thumbs down.
I love the bodyguards coming out. One was cross-eyed, like the attention to detail.
Yeah. One was looking at me, and the other one was looking at Rick from across the room.
I offer you the stickiest of the icky.
I love seeing Rick James with a cowboy hat on behind the bar pouring.
And you know what's fucked up? Like, when I first saw the sketch, I was like, there's no way Rick James really dressed like that. And then you see the music video for My Girl Likes to Party all the time, and he is dressed like that. You're like, what the fuck?
I think, and the cowboy hat was, I think he was dressed like that on an album cover. I think that
yes.
So I mean, it's hilarious. The attention to detail, like you said, the in-depth storytelling, having Rick James confirm most of it. He tell it like he gave me some super, movie kick, but it was like,
I love that. He fucking flies in slow motion into the mirror.
I think bleeding from inside.
I don't think Rick James remembered any of that shit. I think he was just sitting there trying to recall stuff, and he was probably persuaded by some questions. I think he was completely like, dude, I've done so many drugs, I don't remember what I did. Yeah.
He probably remembers like little scenarios, but he's like, details, fuck no.
I have a quick question since it's Final Four week. Who would make your all-time celebrity cocaine Final Four? Could I give you mine so you guys could think a bit?
Go ahead.
So I have 80s Roddy Piper, mid 2000s Lindsay Lohan. I had Stephen King when he wrote Firestarter, and I have Drew Barrymore when she starred in Firestarter. But I get it. Keith Richards and Ozzy Osbourne are like the Duke in North Carolina if we're comparing basketball programs to legendary users.
Hey, how can you not have Keith Richards and Ozzy Osbourne not on there?
Colombian booger sugar.
Yeah, Keith Richards would definitely have to be on there.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. But I mean, right now I'd have Rick James in that just because of,
You gotta add Nicolas Cage in the 90s or the 80s.
I'm sure there's probably a top 25 list we could come up with. So excellent show, guys. So final thoughts on Chappelle Show.
No, man, I loved this idea when we came up for the concept for doing this show. We used to watch. We were in college, so we watched Chappelle Show like religiously, especially after a night of drinking or during a night of drinking during the day. I mean, when we had crowds of people there, or like hanging out with us, or it was just like us hanging out by ourselves. Like it's one of the most entertaining TV shows, sketch shows of all time, and it's because of Dave Chappelle's genius and his comedy that I've been in love with for years, man. I mean, ever since I saw Half Baked, I was like, this guy's fucking stupid and hilarious, and like I wanted to see more. So I'm really glad we touched on this topic, man, because I don't think it maybe gets talked about a lot. I know everybody mentions SNL. Are you talking about sketch comedy? We got to mention SNL or Matt TV, but fuck those. I'd rather watch Dave Chappelle and Chappelle Show. But yeah, one of my favorites, man. I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah, like Bob said, this was one of the best shows at the time. Unfortunately, had a small run. This was such a great, funny show for, I guess, us, a younger crowd, or our kids in our, people in our 20s, when this stuff. If you missed this show, if you missed like the episode, you have to suffer from hearing about people telling you like how funny a fucking sketch was. And if you missed it, you have to catch it on a rerun if you could. Because I think this is before this, obviously, right? It's like before DVR.
Yeah, I think so. Right about the time. Yeah.
So
unless you had, what was the original one? TiVo. Unless you had TiVo back in the day. Who the fuck had TiVo?
So if you missed like this episode, you missed out big time, and you had to try to catch it to get from it, because everybody was like, you couldn't walk around without somebody saying, "I'm Rick James, bitch," like it was
right
everywhere. So if you didn't know what that was, you were fucking missing out. I loved this show so much. I understand. I don't know I'd have to read up on it. Maybe Rand knows off the top of his head. Maybe because he did. Was it because he just like he didn't want to repeat himself? Why did he? I mean, he got offered so much money to.
He did. He got offered, the Godfather deal, and he declined it. I think a lot of it was, I think they were trying to reel in his comedy a little bit.
Yeah,
and
that's what I thought.
Yeah. And I also think he was burned out. I think, he had been, 3 years of Chappelle's Show, 3 years of people shouting, "I'm Rick James, bitch," at you. I'm sure it's pretty taxing. Yeah.
What? I'm rich, bitch.
Yeah. And Chappelle is known for being very much, sort of insular and sort of away from an audience. I mean, he lives in Ohio somewhere.
I heard, yeah. He lives very, quiet, not reclusive life. But he just keeps to himself generally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of it was, I think there was a very famous story where he went to Africa for a few weeks after this, and he was just trying to just rediscover his heritage, who he was. There's this David Letterman has a show on Netflix, and I think it's called My Next Guest or something.
Yeah.
And Dave Chapelle was on one of the shows, and Dave Letterman was there in Ohio, and so Dave Chapelle was like walking around and people were like, greeting him. They weren't like harassing him or yelling, quotes at him. He was taking them to like all these scenic, beautiful places that he likes to spend time at. And I mean, he's very much just like not a Hollywood guy. He's just a funny, brilliant guy who likes to tell jokes, and tell stories. But I mean, it sucked. And I don't know if you guys have the same opinion. When the show left, I was super upset. I was like, how could you're on a heater right now? You have 3 great
and you
seasons.
never walk away from the table when you're on a heater.
I know. And it was just like, how could you do that? How could you walk? But then when you reminisce and you realize why he did it, you're like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Older, right? You're
yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's why he did it. But yeah, I mean, just one of the best shows as far as comedy shows that I've ever seen in my life, in my generation. So memorable. I'm still very much a big fan of this guy. Still watches comedy specials when he does. He, like I said, he had this deal with Netflix where he actually put out a good amount, and then he did his last one, and then he said, "I'm going to go back into relax and chill mode."
Yeah.
So I don't know when we're going to see another,
Dave Chapelle Comedy Hour or something.
He pops up here and there. I think he did an SNL episode recently.
He did
again after the election, like he did the first time, or not the first time somebody got elected. But and that might be the most we see of him from a while. Mark Twain recipient, I know that. So if you know just anything like that, that was actually really cool. When he received the Mark Twain award for comedy, it was a very funny ceremony. A lot of comedians came out and sang his praise. And it was awesome to see him honored and see these people that I also find very funny talk fondly of him and to see him laugh. And it was so just one of the best shows I've ever seen, basically. It's sad we only got so many, seasons and episodes, but obviously we understand now that we're older.
I think Chappelle's Show remains one of the most culturally significant and artistically daring sketch comedy programs in TV history. If you're introducing it to people who have not seen it, and I watch a lot of these TikTok videos where groups of people are watching Chappelle skits and they're reacting to them, and it's just like you're getting more joy out of the reactions than the skits because you're familiar with them already. So if somebody was introduced to this, I'm sure that their thoughts would be, how in the hell did somebody get away with this? How did they? But I mean, it was a different time, right? The show was
fun back then.
We had fun. we certainly did, right? The show was unparalleled in its ability to use comedy as a lens for examining race, class, and power dynamics in America. And Dave Chapelle and his team crafted sketches that dissected and challenged so many things. And what better way to learn and retain than through humor? And we mentioned names Charlie Murphy, Donnell Rawlings, and Paul Mooney. Dave kept this show tight because he knew it had to be authentic and consistent. At its core, I think Chappelle's Show was just not only entertainment, it was a mirror reflecting the complexities of American culture. And we laugh because it's a distraction, like you guys mentioned, and we learn because it's imperative. For years, I thought Dave ruined what career he had going, but then we get it now, right? We understand. Now I look at it and think that he and his team gave us all they could before they compromised their beliefs. And what I realize now is that had he gone on even one more season, it would have been watered down and not as edgy. It was a landmark show, and Dave owns a piece of comedy history because of it. And that's why we're talking about it tonight, because he was just an incredible genius. So thank you, Dave Chapelle, for giving us so many laughs.
Indeed.
Before we leave, guys, you guys spent a week in Vegas. Any stories or anything you'd like to share?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, friend. Jesus Christ.
You know what? I will say this. Old Vegas, was the first time we went.
Fremont Street.
I'd never been to Fremont Street.
East Fremont Street, too.
A lot of fun. It was so cool to see that whole light up thing. I know, like, it's been like that. I know that's something that's been going on for a long time now, and people would say, that's old. Well, we hadn't been there.
Yeah,
we just usually stay, on the strip.
We hit the strip. We hit the arts district. We actually put up. Joe posted a picture. We put up one of our Formidable Opponents stickers on the back of a stop sign or a street sign right outside of Abel Baker Brewing there in Vegas.
Place. Oh,
fucking amazing place, amazing brewery, great food, great beer, great atmosphere, great service. We got a $10 tattoo. Shit, we're there drinking and we got it. They were like, hey, they were offering $10 tattoos. Oh, yeah. Not like around the building in the back, like by dumpster.
No, an actual
fucking.
Pick up your shorts, Bob. You don't have to show us.
Yeah, actual cool spot. We never. There's a number of locations in Coolsville Tattoo, home of the $10 tattoo. We all ended up getting $10 tattoos. It was just to add to the collection. A lot of fun. A lot of really, like I said, seeing that the Fremont Street experience lit up at night. Going to Biffco or Biff's Pleasure Palace, we hadn't done that.
Yeah, we went to the Plaza Hotel, which is cool. Carousel Bar.
Carousel
Bar.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, man. We'll post some pictures on our Instagram page.
Shout out to Circa.
Circa was fucking killer, man.
I've not been there. Newly renovated, I guess. Biggest bar I've ever seen, and the sports
book was killer, dude. The screens and everything. We had great music, great atmosphere, great drinks. I mean, like I came back with money, folks. I lost money, but I came back with money. But I may have spent at least $1,000 on alcohol. We drank beer and drinks and food, and I mean, like food and drinks alone, we were just having the time of our lives. Had a great time, great time. It was. I know we're not going to go back for like another couple of years, but. Fuck, I would really like to try to make that like a yearly thing, but we got to take a big group of us. Maybe we could take all three of us again.
Joseph's shaking his
head.
Joseph was heard. Not yearly.
Good pie, amazing pizza right there in the art district. Good pie was great. what's the name of that the burger place right next to El Cortez, crazy good casino, Eureka Craft Burgers right next to El Cortez.
Okay.
Oh, crazy great burgers, great beer. We got a lot of Las Vegas local craft beer that was just amazing. Great food, everything, dude. Everything was just amazing, man. We had a freaking blast. We had a blast.
So shout outs to Eureka Burgers and the Green Door, right? You guys mentioned the Green Door. No, never mind.
No, not the Green Door. The Blue Oyster.
Excellent, guys. So happy that to hear that you guys had a great time. That's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what you think the best Chappelle Show sketch was. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast platform you're listening to us on. And join us next episode. We're continuing Sketch Month, and we'll be back with Best Key and Peele sketch. So for Bob and Joseph, we'll see you next week.
Holla, 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 holla. Let me holler.
Bye, everybody.
Night, everybody.